This Christmas present one can actually be adapted to anything that you want. It's really up to you. You've got a template on the CD which is blank, so you can just pop it through your printer and print literally any colour and cover that you want for your particular presents. But for this one I'm going to make it up as our Christmas one here. Now you'll notice on this guide that I've actually put in the lines where we stick the box down. And if you're doing this on another paper of your own choice, to say perhaps turn it into an Easter card or just a birthday card with the presents on, all you've simply got to do is measure out 40mm from your centre line each side, put a little mark, and that's where your tabs will go. But to make it a little bit easier, I've popped these on this particular one. But there you go, that shows you how you can adapt it. So that's my base here. You can see I've put my cover on one side. That's ready to put the presents on, the pop-up presents, and this has got a lovely twist because we get one present popping up on top of the other. So let's now have a look at how we put those together. The first present, which is the largest one here, I'm going to make up, and it's then identical for the smaller one. Remember, as I've just mentioned, you've got what we call a template or a net, so that you can print out the basic pattern over any paper that you want. So it doesn't just have to be for Christmas, it can be for any occasion. Righty-ho, well let's show you how we make this up. Well, first of all, cut it out. You'll notice there's some very faint score lines, so just go round and score those all in. Fold the tabs, and on two of the sides here we've got a side fold as well. This is actually the top of the box. So now what we've got to do is put in one of the side panels. And I'll show you now. I'm simply going to glue that in, and this particular side panel has a line to allow it to expand in and out as well. So it really is just a case of simply glue the two tabs here, one either side, and then pop in this side panel there like so. That sits on that crease line there, and that one there, and you can see now we've got our box shape like so, and it's the lid will eventually go in here like so, and then we've got a mechanism which pushes up this part of the box, which in turn will push up the other one. So to make the smaller present, simply copy what I've done there, and then we can make up that one as well. Just before we go on, let's just show you the two lifts here. These are the mechanisms which help lift both the lids of the presents up and push one up on top of the other. And you'll see that we've used this a lot on this CD and other elements such as the cakes and the coffee mugs. So again, simply cut it out, fold it down the middle, and then we'll glue that and keep these two tabs free either side for the moment. Just score those. So over it goes. Those two kept free at the moment, and that's going to allow our box lid to open and close. And then we've got the smaller one here that sits on the top one. Same process again, simply glue that, whoops, there we go, and get our tabs folded back ready for sticking down onto the base. So that's the next thing to look at. Now with my larger box made up, what I've got to do is get that ready now to go onto the base here. So the first thing to do is to glue this tab, and I'm going to build this up in two halves again, and we're just going to just pull the whole thing up and over, as it were. So let's just glue one of the tabs on one side, and we'll just build that up. Put a little bit of protective paper there, down goes my glue, and I'll just line that up with my guideline there. Remember, that's just 40mm out if you're working on a separate piece of paper. Then the next thing here is the lift support mechanism, which is just going to, it really just gives a boost to the lid in order to push the top up a little bit more cleanly, and to add the extra present on there as well. I've glued both tabs. That's going to sit in there like so. It just sits on the center line here and roughly within the middle, so just it doesn't really matter as long as it's on the centre line. That's the key part. I've done both bits at once so we can save a bit of time, and you'll see now as we close that, that's sitting nicely. And it's this mechanism again in here. If you've seen or done the cake and done any of the other sort of rounded ones, i.e. like the coffee mug, you'll know what we're going to do now. But we're going to assume this is the first one you're making. So the next thing to do is to glue this part in onto that there. And I'm going to fold everything over, and it's going to sort of go like this inside. So it's a bit tricky to see. So the first thing to do is to show you this part here. And for that, I'm going to use a little bit of wet glue on there just to hold it, and I'm going to glue both parts because I'm going to do this at once, one fell swoop as it were, and then we're going to come back and glue this tab and the lower tab there, and the whole thing will just fold in half and fit nicely. So what I'm going to do is push, if I show you up right here, I'm going to push that down onto there, but I can't do it in this position, so I'm putting everything onto its side, and I'm simply pushing this down now onto the glued surface. That's the first half glued down, and if I can show you there, if I just pull this up, you can see how that half sits on the mechanism. So I've just got to do the next bit of glue on there, and then that will just fold on over now, so, and stick there like so. So that's going to hold that part of the mechanism. Now the next thing to do while this is all down, just get that sitting nicely, is to put a bit of glue on here now and on this tab here. So these two tabs can be glued up. A little bit of protective paper on there, and same again with this one down here. Now at this stage I'm going to put that one in on there just to hold itself, and this now comes over like so, a little bit of rub, and as we lift up we can see the box springing up here for us. Just pop that onto the side for you and show you, and there we go, we get our box. If you want to, you can leave it at just one single present, but I think it's nice to add the other one. So the next thing to do is just repeat this whole process, and we're going to put the smaller present on the top there. So the first thing I'm going to do now is just put this central mechanism on, and I've squeezed the sides in just to give me a little bit of extra support there, and just rest that on the centre line. If you can see that, if you pull those in, it just helps you push down onto that centre support. When it all folds up, that'll be fine. Then obviously they'll come out ready to spring out as we fold it. So the next thing to do will be to put the box on here on top of the lid, and that again just lines up at this stage on the centre line. You might want to put a little bit of support on that, pull it open, and just really do this one by eye on the top. And that just sits there like so. You might find when you're sticking this one down that it helps just to use something, just to put a little bit of stick on to help it, a little bit of rub. If you're using wet glue, let it dry, and that should all be nicely in position. So why that's like that, the next thing to do is pull this mechanism down, and I'm simply going to repeat the whole process of putting this lid to line up in there with that, so those sides come out, and then that will just glue back onto there, and then that base will stick there. Good. And now as we open and close the card, we get our pop-up presents, as I can show you here from the side. So this is quite a fun one to make. Just a little point to note that it is just a fun card, and you'll notice the only downside with these is the sides never totally come in to make the box perfect. I'm afraid that's just one of the limitations of this. It's just really a representation there, and it adds a little bit of fun because you do get quite a lot of pop-up happening on this particular one. Anyway, have fun with this card.